Hello, Zachary. This is Daddy, and this is the tape that I promised you with some stories on it. Your first story is going to be The Little Engine That Could. Chug, 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 puff, puff, puff. Ding dong, ding dong. The little train rumbled over the tracks. She was a happy little train, for she had just a jolly load to carry. Her cars were filled full of good things for boys and girls. There were toy animals, giraffes with long necks, teddy bears with almost no necks at all, and even a baby elephant. Then there were dolls with blue eyes and yellow curls, dolls with brown eyes and brown bobbed heads, and the funniest little toy clown you ever saw. And there were cars full of toy engines, airplanes, tops, jackknives, picture puzzles, books, and every kind of thing boys or girls could want. But that was not all. Some of the cars were filled full of all sorts of good things for boys and girls to eat. Big golden oranges, red-cheeked apples, bottles of creamy milk for their breakfast, fresh spinach for their dinners, peppermint drops and lollipops for after-meal treats. The little train was carrying all these wonderful things to the little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. She puffed merrily along. Then all of a sudden she stopped with a jerk. She simply could not go another inch. She tried and she tried, but her wheels would not turn. What were all those good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain going to do without the wonderful toys to play with and the good food to eat? "Here comes a shiny new engine," said the funny little clown who jumped out of the train. "Let us ask him to help us." So all the dolls and toys cried out together, "Please, shiny new engine, won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine is broken down, and the boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or any good food to eat unless you help us." But the shiny new engine snorted, "I pull you? I am a passenger engine. I have just carried a fine big train over the mountain with more cars than you have ever dreamed of. My train had sleeping cars with comfortable berths, a dining car where waiters bring whatever hungry people want to eat, and parlor cars in which people sit in soft armchairs and look out of big plate glass windows. I pull the likes of you? Indeed not." And off he steamed to the roundhouse where engines live when they are not busy. How sad the little train and all the dolls and toys felt. Then a little toy clown called out, "The passenger engine is not the only one in the world. Here is another engine coming, a great big strong one. Let us ask him to help us." The little toy clown waved his flag and the big strong engine came to a stop. "Please, oh please, big engine," cried all the dolls and toys together. "Won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine is broken down, and the good little boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or any good food to eat unless you help us." But the big strong engine bellowed, "I am a freight engine. I have just pulled a big train loaded with big machines over the mountain. These machines print books and newspapers for grown-ups to read. I am a very important engine indeed. I won't pull the likes of you." And the freight engine puffed off indignantly to the roundhouse. The little train and all the dolls and toys were very sad. "Cheer up," cried the little toy clown. "The freight engine is not the only one in the world. Here comes another. He looks very old and tired, but our train is so little, perhaps he can help us." So the little toy clown waved his flag, and the dingy, rusty, old engine stopped. "Please, kind engine," cried the dolls and toys together, "won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine is broken down, and the boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or any good food to eat unless you help us." But the rusty old engine sighed, "I am so tired. I must rest my weary wheels. I cannot pull even so little a train as yours over the mountain. I cannot, I cannot, I cannot." And off he rumbled to the roundhouse chugging, "I cannot, I cannot, I cannot." Then indeed the little train was very, very sad, and all the dolls and toys were ready to cry. But the little clown called out, "Here is another engine coming, a little blue engine, a very little one. Maybe she will help us." The very little engine came chugging merrily along. When she saw the toy clown's flag, she stopped quickly. "What is the matter, my friend?" she asked kindly. "Oh, little blue engine," cried the dolls and toys, "will you pull us over the mountain? Our engine is broken down and the good boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or any good food to eat unless you help us. Please, please help us, little blue engine." "Well, I'm not very big," said the little blue engine. "They use me only for switching trains in the yard. I have never been over the mountain." "But we must get over the mountain before the children awake," said the dolls and toys. The very little engine looked up and saw the tears in the doll's eyes, and she thought of the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain who would not have any toys to play with or any good food to eat unless she helped. Then she said, "I think I can. I think I can. I think I can." And she hitched herself to the little train. She tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged, and slowly, slowly, slowly they started off. The toy clown jumped aboard, and all the dolls and toys and the animals began to smile and cheer. Puff, puff, chug, chug, went the little blue engine. "I think I can. I 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 think I can." Up, 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 faster and faster and faster and faster the little engine climbed, until at last they reached the top of the mountain. Down in the valley lay the city. "Hooray! Hooray!" cried the funny little clown and all the dolls and toys. "The good little boys and girls in the city will be happy because you helped us, kind little blue engine." And the little blue engine smiled and seemed to say as she puffed steadily down the mountain, "I thought he could, I 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 thought he could." And that's the end of the little engine that could. Well, Zachary, I have some riddles here for you. I thought maybe you'd like to have something a little funny here. You know why birds fly south? Because it's too far to walk. Okay, I got another one here. Why did the little boy throw the clock out the window? Because he wanted to see time fly. Zachary, do you know what time it is when an elephant sits on a fence? Well, it's time to get a new fence. That's what time it is. What did the big firecracker say to the little firecracker? "My pop is bigger than your pop." Let's see, here is another one. What kind of animals can jump higher than a house? All kinds of animals jump higher than houses. Houses cannot jump. What is a bird after he is 4 days old? He's 5 days old. Okay, I've got a couple more here. I'll just find them. Okay, why does a hen lay eggs? Because if she lets them drop, they would break. Do you know what makes more noise than a cat stuck in a tree? 2 cats stuck in a tree. Okay. Who always goes to bed with his shoes on? A horse goes to bed with his shoes on. Okay, I guess that's the last of the little riddles here. Now I have another book to read to you. And this one here is called Pinocchio. There was once an old man named Geppetto, who was a wood carver. He did his work well. One day he decided to carve out a wooden puppet, and when he had finished it, he declared proudly, "Your name shall be Pinocchio." Much to Geppetto's surprise, no sooner had he uttered these words than the puppet began to kick its wooden feet and to move about. In time, Geppetto began to look upon the puppet as his very own son. He dressed the puppet and sent him off to school. But as Pinocchio went along the road, he passed a puppet show that he wanted to see. Pinocchio had no money to buy a ticket, but the thought came to him that he could get money by selling the school book, so that is what he did. That was the only first of many naughty things that Pinocchio came to do. Of course, other naughty boys became his friends. One such boy was named Candlewick. Candlewick took Pinocchio to a land where no work was ever done and no hard learning was ever permitted. There was time for nothing but play. Now playing is fun, but when it is done all the time, only one thing can happen. It happened slowly but most surely. The puppet began to grow donkey ears. Pinocchio was turning into a donkey. Pinocchio the donkey was sold to a circus, so that he might be trained to do tricks and be of some use. Now his life was not easy. He had little to eat. Too late, Pinocchio realized how much better it would have been if he had gone to school and been a good boy. When Pinocchio was tossed into the sea by the owner of a circus because it was thought he was of no further use as a donkey, some fishes began to nibble away at his ears, neck, legs, and skin. With no more donkey skin, Pinocchio was once again a puppet. As Pinocchio swam towards the shore, a giant whale came along, opened his tremendous mouth, and swallowed him whole. It was just like a cave inside the whale, and quite dark. But Pinocchio saw a dim light in the distance, and going toward it, he came upon the old woodcarver Geppetto, who had also been swallowed by the whale. How happy the two were to see each other! One moonlit night, while the whale slept with his mouth open, Geppetto and Pinocchio managed to escape. They lost little time in getting back home. Pinocchio became as kind and good as could be. He seemed to have learned his lesson. Once, when the old woodcarver became ill for a time, Pinocchio weaved straw baskets and sold them to earn money for their food. When boys and girls who have been bad become good, everything changes for the better. The blue fairy, who happened to be Pinocchio's godmother, appeared one morning and changed Pinocchio into a real boy. And you may be sure that the old man and the boy, each caring for the other, lived happily together. Well, Zachary, how about some more riddles here? For what man should you always take off your hat? The barber. Our hen can lay an egg 4 inches long. Can you beat that? Sure you can, with an egg beater. When can 3 women go out under one umbrella and not get wet? When it's not raining, of course. What is the best way to keep a skunk from smelling? You hold his nose. What kind of animal eats with his tail? All animals eat with their tails. They can't take them off. Why did the little boy put ice in his father's bed? Because he liked cold pop. What is the best thing to put into a pie? Your teeth. Why does a cook always put on a high white hat? To cover his head. Why does a cow go over the hill? Because a cow can't go under the hill. Which will burn longer? The candles on a birthday cake of a boy, or the candles on a birthday cake of a girl? No candles burn longer. They all burn shorter. Where will the cat be when the lights go out? The cat will be in the dark. What kind of a coat should be put on when it's wet? A coat of paint. Well, that's all for those riddles. Now, how about another story? Okay, Zachary, this is the tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dear, said the old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was a very naughty little rabbit, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuce, and then some French beans, and then he ate some radishes, and then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have gotten away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but the sobs were overheard by some sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop down on top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Peter rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking underneath each one. Presently Peter sneezed. "Ka-choo!" Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out the window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was all out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp from sitting in that can. After a time he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone step, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her to wait to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his watering can. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it the best way to go without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly quite close to him he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon the wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for the scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down on the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and then shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. The Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. Okay, Zachary, I told you that I would play the music of the 3 Little Pigs for you with no words. So here's the music of the 3 Little Pigs. Well, Zachary, I hope you enjoyed this tape. I just want you to know that I think about you all the time, and I love you very much. And I want you to try and be a good boy for Mommy. I'm very proud of you.